At that point, I could remember all my peers crying because many of them had parents who worked at the towers. For me at that moment, I didn't know how 9/11 would impact my life, but what I did know is that I had been having nightmares. I had seen those towers in my dreams, and I had seen smoke. Maybe it was because of the fact that I was a Pakistani. I remember living in Pakistan, seeing the burqa-clad women who, with their children, would be begging for food. And I thought to myself, what would that mean? What would it mean for me to be here and to not remember that pain? And maybe my greatest fear did come alive, that over there became over here. On 9/11, not only New Yorkers or Americans, but the whole world felt the fabric of safety rip, because if the nation with the most powerful military couldn't protect itself from the hate of a few, then who in this world could? I remember the billions of faces in the world holding candles and praying for the innocent individuals who lost their lives. While 9/11 was a moment of shared terror, it was also a moment of international solidarity and the reaffirmation that we all are connected as a global human community. While I shared the grief, the anger, and the helplessness, what I didn't suspect was how my identity would take a new form. My faith and my origin was demonized and presented as threats to freedom itself. While I didn't lose someone on the day of 9/11, I did lose an uncle as part of the international response to the war, which we call the war on terrorism. In 2006, for a year he went missing. After a year, we received his tortured dead body. From the UK, it was sent. There were no charges, there were no investigation. A tortured dead body and a label of a terrorist, and on top of that, a threat against our whole family, don't you dare investigate. It was that day, 5 years after 9/11, that what happened on 9/11 hit my family so close. Yes, there had been a rise in hate crimes. Yes, after I've been interrogated and questioned by everyone I came across on my faith, on the politics of the region. But I never thought, I had full faith in justice. Because aren't we told that the truth prevails at the end of the day? Aren't we told that if you're not guilty, you have nothing to worry about? However, it was that day that I understood a painful reality. The national security apparatus of this world saw a part of me as a threat. Never before did I truly understand or come to recognize how intertwined the political and the personal are. What being powerless in the name of injustice really means. And a deep fear that did somehow well-intentioned pursuits of justice only further victimize and hurt innocent individuals. Were the lives of innocent Americans of 9/11 exploited to further victimize Iraqis, Afghanis, or anyone who had the misfortune of being born or resembled those men that day? Did I also, in my naive faith and belief in the delivery of justice, support my own discrimination, disenfranchisement, and indirectly support the murder of my uncle? It was that awareness that led me here to John Jay College on a journey to work on the issue of justice, and where I learned to identify terror, which does not only take the form of political violence, but it also occurs within the four walls of our homes and also occurs within the trusted relationships. It was that same journey that took me from here, New York City, to DC after I graduated, where I have the privilege of seeing a national perspective on how our country responds to victims of violence. I learned that 14-year-olds would rather cut themselves as I journeyed across to state juvenile detention facilities, that they would rather cut themselves than go back home or come out into society because they felt safer in prison. It was through that journey that I sat across hundreds of victims of sexual assault and saw how much victimization and what healing looks like. And it was that same journey that took me across the tribal jurisdictions where I could feel what historical trauma and what it means to be historically disenfranchised. And a painful reality, that whether we like to admit it or not, there are people in this world who are given no other option but to live with terror every single day. And how did we not think that it wouldn't impact us all someday? After all, violence is like a cancer. If untreated, spreads. Therefore, I really pray, as 11 years have passed from 9/11, that we truly begin honoring the memory of those innocent individuals who lost their lives that day, by not confusing justice with revenge, that we began to see how violence is interconnected, and its biggest casualty is humanity itself. Beyond that, I do hope that we do finally open a chapter of healing as a nation and draw upon the moment when we stood united and moved past our differences as a global community against terror, violence, and hate. Thank you. And thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Now I actually want to introduce a moment of silence to